Welcome, Wizard Painters. Enter platform 9 3/4, where the Hogwarts Express is taking us straight to the School of Painting.
All aboard! The Hogwarts Express is about to leave, so hop on.
Yay! Finally! We are on our way to Hogwarts. OMG, why is the train stopping? Oh no! The train is stuck in the storm. Okay, while we wait, let's grab our brushes and let's paint the Hogwarts Express. Step 1. I sketched the train on tracing paper, then transfer it onto the canvas using carbon paper and fine liner pen. I didn't sketch the train directly on the canvas so I can reuse the same sketch for future paintings that need a train. Once everything is in place, we can remove the tracing paper. Our sketch is now transferred onto the canvas. Step 2. Painting the sky using acrylic colors, primary blue, cerulean blue, white and black. I covered with masking tape where the moon will be. For sky colors, I'm mixing 4 acrylic colors to create different tones for the sky, adding lighter and darker areas for depth and dimension. Using a small watercolor mop brush, apply the color to the canvas, starting with the lightest shade around the moon and gradually blending into the darkest tones as you move outward. Step 3. Painting random clouds, using a filbert brush to apply the color to the canvas, starting from the lightest area around the moon and working outward. Use a dabbing technique to create a soft, blended effect. Step 4. Painting the shadow of chimney steam. Using a filbert brush, mix primary blue, little primary red and black to have a dark purple shade for the shadow of the smoke. Use dabbing technique, apply it to the canvas, starting from the train's chimney and working upward. Step 5. Adding moon's soft reflection. To paint the moon's soft reflection in the sky, using a filbert mix turquoise blue, white, and primary yellow. Apply the color on the canvas, doing circular and dabbing technique. Step 6. Before removing the masking tape, make sure the paint is completely dry. Step 7. Painting the moon with pure white using detail brush. In this step now, using a hog brush, apply white paint around the moon to soften the edges and create a smooth transition. Step 8. Painting the snow and shooting star effect. Using diffuser stick for large snow effect, apply white paint to it, and randomly dot it onto the canvas. The circular shape of the stick creates a natural snow-like effect. For small snow effect, use a detail brush, apply combination of white, primary yellow and cerulean blue, and randomly dot it onto the canvas. For the shooting star-like effect, load the edge of the diffuser stick with white paint. Step 9. Painting the trees. In this step, using a detail brush to mix the color primary blue and black, creating a dark shade for the tree trunk. Painting the tree's leaves. In this step, using a bristle fan brush to mix the color primary blue and black, creating a darkest shadow for leaves. In this step, adding leaves detail using a detail brush. For leaves dark tone shadow using a detail brush, mix color cerulean blue, white and black. For leaves light tone shadow using a detail brush, mix color cerulean blue, more white and little black. In this step, for painting large trees, I'm using the same colors, brush type, and brush strokes as I did for the small trees. In this step, for trees highlights, using a detail brush, mix color cerulean blue, and more white. Step 10. Painting the landscape. Using a filbert brush, mix white, cerulean blue, and black. Adjust the shades by adding more white for a lighter tone, more cerulean blue for a mid-tone, and more black for a darker tone. Step 11. Painting the train. First, I'm painting the train signage. Using cadmium red and cadmium yellow, mixing them with a detail brush to create a red-orange hue for the background. For the letters, I applied cadmium yellow, no need for fine details yet, as we'll refine them later. Next is I'm painting the front body of the train using a small detail brush. To achieve a metallic look, I'm mixing white and black, starting with a mid-tone gray, then adjusting with more white for highlights and more black for shadows. Next is the train's chimney using a small detail brush. For the bottom part, I'm mixing black with a touch of white to create a metallic look, and adding a tiny bit of primary blue for depth and a steel-like shine. For the upper part, I'm mixing cadmium yellow with a little white and a small amount of black to achieve a muted gold. If needed, I adjust the balance, adding more yellow to brighten it or a tiny bit more black for depth. Now, let's continue the front body of the train using a small detail brush. Again, I mixed black with a touch of white to create a metallic look, and adding a tiny bit of primary blue for depth and a steel-like shine, then adjusting with more white for highlights and more black for shadows. In this step, painting the back portion of train. Using a detail brush. To achieve that deep, metallic red, I'm mixing cadmium red with a touch of cadmium yellow for warmth, then adding a tiny bit of black to deepen the tone. For a more steel-like effect, I'll adjust with a hint of primary blue and use white for highlights to create a shiny finish. In this step, I'm adding key details to the train for more realism, like protruding steel metals, cables, and pipes. These don't need to be highly detailed, just enough to capture their presence and structure. Sorry guys. Unfortunately, my camera stopped recording while I was painting the wheel part of the train. Let's proceed to Step 12. In this step, blocking in the color foundation of train tracks using a detail brush, mixing white, black, and cerulean blue to create depth. Considering light and shadows to build the foundation of colors. Step 13. In this step, painting the front of train. Using a detail brush. To achieve that deep, metallic red-orange, mix cadmium red with a touch of cadmium yellow for warmth, then adding a tiny bit of black to deepen the tone. For a more steel-like effect, adjust with a hint of primary blue and use white for highlights to create a shiny finish. In this step, for metallic black steel. Using detail brush mixed black with a touch of white to create a metallic look, and adding a tiny bit of cadmium red and bit of primary blue for depth and a steel-like shine, then adjusting with more white for highlights and more black for shadows. Step 14. Adjusting detail and enhancing colors. When adjusting the colors in your painting, focus on enriching the light and shadow rather than adding excessive details. Prioritizing hue depth will create a more immersive and dynamic effect. For example, when painting small details like the bolt effect on a train, precision isn't always necessary. Instead, use a detail brush loaded with a mix of black and primary blue, with a hint of cadmium yellow and cadmium red. Simply dot the paint onto the surface to suggest the presence of bolts. To make them stand out, add small white dots on top, mimicking the way light catches the metallic surface. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Give it a thumbs up if you liked what you saw, and leave a comment below, especially if you're a fan of the Harry Potter movies. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Join the community, and let's keep creating together. Step 15. Painting frost and fog on the rail tracks. Now, let's bring the icy magic to the rail tracks. Using a filbert and detail brush, start with a mix of white and cerulean blue to shape the frost-covered rails. Gently blend in white to highlight areas where the snow catches the light, creating that crisp, frozen effect. To add depth and contrast, introduce small touches of cerulean blue mix with bit of primary blue and black, carefully layering it to define the cold shadows between the rails. Work in thin, delicate strokes to capture the texture of frost settling on the steel. Keep your brushwork subtle and précis. This will make the snow feel light, yet firmly clinging to the tracks, as if winter's grip refuses to let go. Now, let's add a touch of mystery with soft, swirling mist. Using a small hog brush dry technique, take a mix of white, a hint of cerulean blue, and the faintest touch of black to create a gentle, foggy effect. Lightly glide your brush in circular motions, letting the colors blend naturally for a soft, airy feel. The key here is layering. Build up the fog gradually, keeping the edges blurred to mimic the way mist drifts and swirls around the frozen rails. Let some areas stay more transparent while others are denser, as if the fog is slowly rolling in, wrapping the train in a ghostly embrace. Step 16. Painting the chimney steam. Let's bring the steam to life as it rises from the train's chimney. Mix primary blue, cerulean blue, white, and a touch of black. Using a hog brush, start with darker tones near the chimney where the smoke is thickest, then use a hog dry brush. Gradually add more white as the smoke lifts into the air. Use swirling, upward motions to create gentle puffs. Blend softly so the smoke fades seamlessly into the frosty sky, making it feel alive and dynamic in the winter air. Step 17. Painting the headlights. Using detail brush, mix primary blue, cerulean blue, and white. Start with the core of the light in white, then blend primary blue with hint of cerulean blue around the edges for a glowing effect. Add with more white in the center and smooth transitions for a realistic shine. Step 18. Finalizing the Hogwarts signage. I've chosen to use an acrylic paint marker to paint the Hogwarts Express letters in white. This makes it easier to write the letters, especially since our painting is small. For the frame of the signage, I mixed white, cadmium yellow, and hint of black to create a rich golden hue. Step 19. Adding small snowflakes. Final step. Load the toothbrush with white paint, ensure the bristles are coated, but not dripping. You want enough paint to cover the bristles without creating large globs. Hold the toothbrush over your canvas and gently flick the bristles with your thumb to create a spread of tiny dots, mimicking falling snowflakes. Move the toothbrush around to vary the size and intensity of the dots, as snowflakes fall in different sizes and amounts. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comments. I love hearing from you. Take care, and I'll see you again in another amazing painting adventure.